welcome again, everybody, to another exciting episode of Paranormal Pickers with me, Nick,
Exciting
and
episode. Yeah.
exciting episode. Hey, we are full of excitement today.
Here,
Let
let
me
me
tell
write
you.
that one down. I've got to remember that one.
Right?
Exciting.
You know, you're not excited. You seemed excited before I clicked the button. Maybe it was just nerves and what have you. So, what's been new, Dean, since last week? What have you been up to? Anything new and exciting in your neck of the woods?
New? No, I just ran into a couple stories. I mean, do you want to go in what we were just talking about, or?
I just wanted to more so get a general feel of how your week was going. I know it's early. I know we met last Tuesday, and a lot can happen over a week. For instance, I'll give you a for instance. My dog got loose over the weekend, right?
That's the worst.
It is. Oh, and so here's what makes it even more challenging is my wife and I were out. My mother-in-law is getting ready to move away. She's going to be moving to Nevada here shortly, and she is our babysitter for our kid, right?
Right.
So, which is fine, but at the same time, we're trying to enjoy the last 2 weekends we have before she moves away and kind of get a little solace. Well, she calls up about 8 o'clock in the evening on Saturday, and she's in hysterics, saying the dog got out and was chasing a car. So my wife tells me I should come back home and try to find the dog, which to me it seems like a wild goose chase because I'm already 45 minutes away from where we're at, from our house. But at any rate, happy wife, happy
Especially at
life.
these gas prices.
Yeah, exactly. So happy wife, happy life. I go out and do my due diligence to try to find this dog. Well, couldn't find him. Searching high, searching low is normal places to go. Finally, we
Now,
just decide.
hold on a second. Now, this
Yeah, go
dog
ahead.
you're talking about is a lemon drop beagle. These aren't just dogs. These are kind of a rarer breed, and they're pretty.
Yeah, he's not cheap. So
Yeah,
I'll put
yeah.
it that way.
This ain't like this ain't like no. This is like a glamorous dog running around the neighborhood.
Yeah, and so mind you, I'm upset. The wife's upset. The mother-in-law's upset. But there's nothing more we can do except hope that he's chipped. One, so I knew we had to always call and get the chip once
I had
operation
that
hours were
removed
back in.
never mind.
Yeah. So finally, we come home from an evening. I get home about 12 o'clock, maybe a little before 12 o'clock, and I post something on Facebook, in the area, the local places, to let them know that the dog's been loose. And word catches on pretty quick because, as you mentioned, he's a pretty cute and lovable dog. So I get notified pretty quick. I find the person who had him. Hi to whomever is stating hi over there. So anyway, I find out that the police have him after a while. Well, to make a long story short, I get a phone call from the police station, and I had been out enjoying myself, let's call it, for the previous 8 hours of the day. So I was a little, I'd had a little to drink, I'd had a little to consume, so I was feeling pretty good. But my wife, she decides I have to go and pick this dog up. So at 12:15, I drive into the belly of the beast, feeling the way I'm feeling, to go gather this dog back. And luckily, the people at the police station, they were very nice people. They did rescue the dog. They said he was super cute. They were just waiting to hear back if somebody was going to claim the dog before they decided they wanted to claim him themselves.
Yeah.
But Eli's back home. That is the excitement that I had over the past week since we've gotten together. So
Yeah, well, that's good. I'm glad you got them back.
yeah, that's
For our Facebook users out there, our viewers, when you look at our Facebook page, there is a link in there that you can click to get StreamYard permission to accept Facebook. That way, we can see who's posting comments. We can see your face. So there is a link. Just click on it and just say yes to Facebook, whatever they're asking for. It's just giving permission.
You just pay no mind to the small print or anything in there, is what you're saying. I mean, they could be signing their life away.
Well, that way, we don't see them as ghosts. So, but happy Tuesday. It's 3:29, and as you can tell from my name, I'm Frank Fritz today.
Paranormal Picker
I
2.
thought Mike was going to join me, but apparently Nick is here.
Mike, Nick, potato, tomato.
That's my April Fool's joke. I'm playing Frank Fritz, and we're gonna bundle We're gonna bundle up some EVPs for you tonight. We're
We
gonna
do have
bundle
some
up some
exciting
stories.
EVPs to get through tonight. That is for sure. I don't
Yeah,
know if it's a bundle of them, but
well, that's what Frank does. He bundles. He gets all these things and he bundles a price for it. Don't you watch the show?
I of course I watch the show, and that's an old carnival sales trick right there too. If you can't get somebody to bite on one thing, you wrap in another thing, and if they like the price, you probably are doing that over at the flea market. I could see you already. Like, well, look, if you don't want this one, let's bundle the two of them together, and I'll sell it to you for this.
Nope, I'm easy going.
Yeah.
People steal from me.
old
Hey,
Saint,
I'll
old
give you
Saint
a
Frank.
dollar. I'll give you a dollar for this $100 item here. That's all I got is a dollar, and I'm like, well, I'll take it.
This place needs a new home anyway. So so let's see if today's episode. You would come up with a name for it if you could just give everybody the episode. We're S1E2
Bible.
Bible. All right, Bible, and that's going to lead us into some good discussions tonight on one, our travels and our picks of where we've gone. We've got some picks as to where we've been in the past. One of them being in the, I'm going to butcher the name of this town, and I always do. I want to say it's Marseille.
Well, yes, it's pronounced after the city in France, but
Yeah.
local folks like us call it Marseilles. But it is, yeah, Marseilles, however you want to
Marseilles.
pronounce it.
Right.
Somewhere between Streator and Ottawa, Illinois.
Right. So I'll put up a reference map at some point in time, but
Yeah, we're going to take you on a journey through Marseilles or Marseilles.
Marseille.
And the fact is, one of my favorite EVPs of all, or voice captures of all time, was from a house there in Marseilles.
So tell us a little bit about who's involved in that house, Dean. I wasn't there nearly as many times as you were, but give me the who. Who are these people? What are we dealing with when we go into this place?
The typical young family, a mom and her two boys and a boyfriend, and it was her grandmother's house who just passed away, and they kind of just moved in there. And to the topic of the show, the grandmother moved into a nursing home, and that's when everything started. So when the client came in to someone said hi, Frank. Sorry, distracted by the comments here. So when the granddaughter moved in with her two boys, they cleaned the grandmother's stuff up, and she had told me that in each room there was a Bible in each room of the house.
Okay.
And then as soon as she removed the Bibles, stuff started happening, especially to the younger child, the younger son, the youngest of the two sons, who was 10 at the time and has Asperger's.
Okay.
And
so for those of us that aren't aware what Asperger's are, can you maybe shed some light on that too?
well, I would direct that to you. I mean,
autism
is something down your
right. So I would say probably the easiest way to describe that is it has been known to be on the spectrum of autism. So autism being somebody who isn't neurotypical, not saying that they have any type of differences to certain areas in their life. Autism is going to affect each person differently that is diagnosed with autism. And those that are said to have Asperger's, they're a little bit more functional as to where they can communicate. They don't get as nervous or as as worked up in areas or where people are, or claustrophobic, things of that nature. So on a scale of communication, I would say that there's a higher ability and a higher level of communication from somebody with Asperger's. But that said, too, I mean, it always makes you wonder if they've got that type of communication and their wiring is not the same as our wiring, good, bad, and different. I know we pondered the fact, could they have some other attraction to the other side of the paranormal side of things?
Exactly. And this town, where it's located, I mean, it was along the Illinois-Michigan Canal, I&M Canal. There's locks, dams, there's limestone, there's bluffs, there's everything that you can imagine there. Railroad tracks, um, everything. And
So,
when
so,
we
so,
go and show you the map later, you'll see. I'll have you zoom in on a couple of the
so let me
places.
get this straight if I understand it correctly too. So just to recap again for those listening, Grandma has the property. She vacates the property but leaves her belongings in the property. If you're vacating the property, going to a nursing home, if I understand correctly,
Mhm.
right? Mother, 2 children move in and obviously want to make the place their own. And in part of doing this, they're removing the Bibles and who knows what else, but Bibles specifically from the rooms that they will be staying in. And there's one found in every room, if I understand it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
And things started happening immediately. That's why they reached out to ghost hunters to see what they could find. And that's like I said, when I was pulling out my research from what was this 2010.
Oh, easily. It's been 12 years at least. I don't even know if they're still residing in the same place, to be honest
And
with
when
you.
I zoomed in on the property on the map, I was, I got the chills. I gotta say, I was looking in there, and I got this impression that if I owned this home, I would excavate that backyard, and I probably would find something.
Yeah.
I just feel that
Well,
maybe something's buried there.
so you brought up a good point too. I mean, look at the area that it's in. It's got a river of churning water. It's
Mhm.
got limestone bluffs everywhere you look at. Old property. I mean, who knows how long Grandma lived there or when the property was built? You probably do know when the property was built, but you've got all the Indians. There was Native Americans, I should say, or indigenous people. That I'm
There's
sure
really
that they
no
were.
signs. There was really no signs of any Indian tribes there at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, they built the I&M Canal through there, so there
Hmm.
wasn't really any indication. I mean, there could be some in the area, but there wasn't any camp per se in the
Sure.
area. So
I think I took into account just the proximity of the area to Starved Rock and knowing the story behind Starved Rock. I mean, it's
yeah,
not far.
yeah, it's between Ottawa and
So
Streeter. Is this? Yeah.
you would think,
Hmm.
look, I'm not indigenous and I don't travel by whatever means they did, but I've made my way from Sycamore to Marseille and Starved Rock. So I would think that perhaps the indigenous people may have gone back and forth and could have potentially lost some people in there too. But at any rate, what I was trying to build up was just the fact that so we've got a breeding ground for potential
Oh yeah.
paranormal experience already, just with the area that it's in, and now you compound it in there with somebody who's got Asperger's, who potentially, can have communication with the other side that we don't have. And
And there's
then,
more.
yep. So that's what I'm building on. Carry on. What do go with the
Well,
next?
the grandmother, her name is Nellie. She was born on March 24th, so it was ties into the time. So kind of like focusing on her during her birthday time, and
Happy
uh
anniversary, Nellie.
and a late birthday to our own
Laura.
Laura Redmond, who
Yep.
celebrated a
She just said
birthday
hello
on
too. So hello, Laura.
March 23rd. Her birthday was, so happy birthday, Laura, belated. But Nellie, she moved here, or she married Arthur in Knifley, Kentucky. So they're from Kentucky. And this area of Marcel's, there was a lot of Kentucky folks that moved up here to work. A
Hmm.
lot of Kentucky folks, a lot of ancestry in Kentucky in this area. Um, Her husband died in 2003, and then she died in 2009. So 2009 they moved in, and that's kind of right when we got the case. 2010, 2011, you know,
So
or
so let
2011,
me
2011.
let me ask a question there on that too. So did the grandma pass away after they moved into the house, or did she pass away before they moved into the house?
I think they went into the nursing home. I got my notes here, or I did.
I don't mean to throw you a curveball
Oh
in
no,
your
it's not a
story. I
curveball.
just
It's
wanted
just
to.
I can't recall everything.
Well, I can hardly recall what I had for breakfast, and we're trying to go over something from 12 years ago when we didn't
Right.
investigate it. But I mean, it's a great story, and visually when we get to it, you know, and audibly, because I know you've got some audio that you may share with us tonight too.
Well, when I was getting my stuff together last night, I was like ecstatic because I actually took a digital picture of my written notes. So I got the address, I got her name. Her original name was Perkins, so Nellie Perkins. She's buried in Riverview Cemetery, and we're going to talk about that later as well. Um, and according to her granddaughter, um, Nellie would sit in cemeteries and talk to spirits.
So this lady likes to just hang out in cemeteries and talk to spirits.
The one with
Kept a,
that put all the Bibles in the
kept a
basement.
Bible in the rooms throughout the house.
So I don't know if she brought something with her from Knifely or did something attach to her and the little boy. But you're going to hear some. You're just going to hear something later on an audio that still makes my
Skin crawl, huh?
You can't eat. I get the chills listening to it just because I
Oh, you're
I
building it
was
up for
there.
these folks here. This is yeah. Well, yeah, you were there too. You heard it with your your ears. One
Oh,
good, one
okay. She
bad.
said, yeah, she said they left Bibles in every room and that there are animals buried on the property.
Okay.
Uh,
Now,
you want to go over some of the haunted stuff that happened to her?
yes, that's what I was wondering. When she
All
reaches
right.
out to you, she's got a list of things that have happened to her, the bumps in the night,
Yeah,
experiences
and
she may have had.
yeah, so it's the client and then her two boys and then her boyfriend. The boyfriend doesn't. I think he had a few things, but the smaller kid is 10. The older brother's 15 at the time. So those are some of the things that the 15-year-old was actually trying to ghost hunt himself in his own room. And he had a video camera and it flew across the room, he said. But they would smell like cologne smells in the kitchen and the bathroom. So maybe possibly the soap or deodorant, something like that.
Yeah, could well, I
Um,
mean, yeah, you would think Nellie had a husband at some point in time. He could have been him walking
yeah.
through there too.
Oh, yeah. Mist in the basement. Banging and walking in the basement, um, orbs from the hand. So the younger boy, uh, his name is Hunter.
Hmm.
He actually seen orbs, and he would touch them, and he said they would burn, but it will never leave a mark. So that was
So this kid's reaching out, physically seeing
yeah,
something, touching it, and reacting, but at the same token, it didn't leave
right.
anything on him. Okay.
Voices, um, kind of robotic noises in sense. Sounds, orbs in the bathroom. The older brother got pulled downstairs, and where we caught this voice capture, it was by the basement door. And I'll play the clip itself, just the clip later, and then I'll pull the audio to a bigger picture so you can hear how everyone sounds and how the kid reacts to it. And that's where you're going to go because you can't explain it,
You really can't. You really can't.
Yeah.
And from my recollection of being there too, the basement alone was scary just from the existence of spiders down there. There was spiders the size of my hand. I'm probably exaggerating, but they were big spiders, and that's what I mean. It was frightening enough just with that, and then you couple on top of it, the dinginess of the stories and everything that compounds with what we were getting as well.
Yeah, and there's black shadows in the closet in the bedroom. He won't sleep in his bedroom because that's where they are all at. That's where they gathered pretty much. But he'll play there during the day, but he won't sleep in there. There was a full apparition scene of a woman, and that was by the mom. Her mom saw somebody walking in the living room. And then Steve, the boyfriend, saw two male apparitions. Um, some attitudes changed probably with the 15-year-old, but there was a situation too with his father and stuff. So I don't know.
Well, you
Did I
gotta,
get?
you got a pubescent or prepubescent teen in the house who's
Yeah,
going
and it
through
feeds
his
off
own.
that. You know,
Of
things can
course,
feed off that. Yeah,
of course. Yep.
objects moving like the camcorder, um, and the fighting increased with the little between the two brothers. But that's common, as you know. You got a brother, right?
I've got four brothers.
so, so you know, for yeah,
Right.
for sure. Um, and objects actually appeared. Um, so one of the things that the older brother said is he reached under the bed and his finger was pushed back by something. Like
And then
literally
there was nothing
pushed
unseen
back.
when he.
Right. Or could
So
it,
was there a straw that broke the camel's back moment for her? Was there something that she just said, "Look, this is enough. I really just need to get you in," or was it just a culmination of everything in general as to
no,
what she
he's not
shared with
sleeping
me?
in a room, and you know, Hunter, he's a horror fan, and
Hmm.
he was, you know, he
Oh, even
yeah,
better. Compound,
he was a
seeing
horror
stuff
fan.
with, yeah,
You
absolutely.
know, one of the things that I noticed in three of the homes that we were investigating where the people were experiencing things is that there was some kind of a glow in the dark object.
Okay.
Like Hunter had a shirt that glue in the dark. What another house they had the stars in their closet that glowed in the dark. So it had that feeling. So I kind of did a research on that too, because maybe that's an attraction to
Yeah.
spirit,
Would you come up
whatever.
with anything on that?
It's hard to say, and it basically the research took me into how to basic how I would engineer the environment to
Sure.
see the spirit.
Yeah.
So having that technology, basically we would need a, a proton gun, kind of like the old TV where they shine the light or the proton hit hits the chemicals on the screen to produce an image. It's kind of the same concept. You gotta put in charge the room with sunlight, and
Hmm.
then just stop it, and that energy have the should charge them enough to see them. You know what I mean?
So what
Kind of
you're
like
saying is kind of taking a negative or a still shot of everything with charging the room and then taking everything back. It's a freeze
and
frame
just
uh,
watching,
of,
yeah,
of the
just
room. Yeah.
watching. But
Yeah.
that technology is sitting up in the sky right now. You know.
Well, somebody probably has it. We just don't have our hands on it. Specifically you and I yet. We'll
Let me grab
find
a
it on the
piece of
back.
the sun and throw it into this room here.
Right. Right.
But it's just the way of thinking. It's it's in the field. You stumble across things and you have to ask questions. And the more
Oh,
you
sure.
ask, the more you
Absolutely.
learn. You gotta be observant. Just observe everything around you. Tie it in. Say that's this is a coincidence, but what if it isn't?
Well, I mean, that's the whole thing that you bring up too with the Bible that comes into it. Was the Bible there to fend something off? Was it there to keep something in? What was the purpose of the grandma having the Bible in all the rooms? And by them,
Exactly.
yeah,
And I can't.
yeah,
Yeah, she's
and
not
by
there
them
to
removing it,
interview.
like all we can do is speculate. She's not here to ask, right?
She's not there to interview.
Right. So we can speculate, but I'll give you an anecdote from my side too before we press on with the story of Hunter and Marseille and where we're at. But from a standpoint of one, when you watch all the shows on TV, everything's overly dramatized, sure, but that dramatization has to come from somewhere to add to our emotions, right? So what I'm getting at is when you look at the ghost movies or the exorcism scenes, they always start in a house that had Bibles everywhere, crosses or religious relics strewn throughout the house, right? So it's at least driven my wife and my family to say, look, if we're walking through a house or touring a house or potentially looking to buy a house or stay at a house, That's the first thing I'm looking for, and that's the first thing the wife looks for is there religious relics throughout this house? Is there crosses above the beds? Is there Bible sitting someplace? You know, they do it. They do it when you go to the hotel. You can find the Bible in the drawer in some hotels.
The
Some of
Gideon
them,
Bible.
some of them probably need it more than others, especially some of the
Actually,
hotels I've stayed in.
a
Go
little
ahead.
fact that I don't want to go deep diving into that, but the Gideon Bible was invented or thought of at Boscobel, Wisconsin, at the Central House. Awesome place. Been there, met some awesome people, had great time out there. But the two people that invented the Gideon Bible, that's where the thought came from, and then it came reality in Janesville, and that's how the idea of having Bibles in hotels throughout the country.
Now, what was their what if you can elaborate? What was their purpose behind that? Did they say they just wanted one in every hotel room, or?
Well, without refreshing my memory with the names, yeah, there was this gentleman that was staying there at the hotel. This other gentleman came in, and he was a salesman, and he was working in the bar area. And there was no other beds to sleep in, but there was a spare bed in his room. So back in those times, he agreed, okay, yeah, just stay here.
Hmm.
Um, the gentleman went up there, was working, and then the other gentleman came up later, was going to go to sleep. And then as he was sleeping, the gentleman was reading from his Bible because he had promised his mother that when she died, that he would read from the Bible every night. And the other gentleman said, well, what are you doing? What are you reading? Well, I'm Christian too. Read the Bible to me as well.
Sure.
And that just kind of got the ball rolling with the fact that, salespeople would be out there and they won't have a chance to read the Bible. Let's put one in every hotel.
Makes sense. Travelers need the word of God spread to them as well. And regardless of what someone's personal beliefs are, in the book itself or any religion for that matter, there's guidelines in there. There's good things in there that people believe in that are notionable, that make people better people, I can say, right? And I don't want to get too far into religious talk or anything in here. That's a podcast for a whole nother story. But at any rate, she's removed the Bibles from the house. You've gotten the phone calls, the emails, communication from the new residents in the home. You're packing up and ready to go down there doing your research. Walk me in now where we're at here. Have you got everything in your bag ready to roll? Are you going to roll in? Who you bringing with you?
Well, of course, the team. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we've been there a few times, um, but pretty much just take a tour of the house, do your interview. I mean, as far as going deep into that, I mean, that's just normal investigation stuff.
Sure.
Um, some of the bullet points, like Hunter said, that the spirits don't seem to want anything except for him to get out of his room. So that's why he would not sleep there. When they leave to go somewhere, he sees those orbs, like I was mentioning, that turned into shadows, and they kind of follow them out to the end of the driveway, kind of to make sure that they were actually leaving, which is, you know, it,
Having a ghost party.
that's a dynamite lie.
Yeah.
Watching the ghosts walk out there, make sure that they leave so they can go back and not have to deal with live people. Um, you know, he sees a lot of the orbs, like I said, and he tries to touch them, but it would burn, but doesn't leave a mark. He also said that he doesn't see ghosts outside of the home except by the canal, because the canal runs right by this
Directly.
behind him. And I'll show up. Don't pull up the map now, but we'll pull it up later.
Mm-hmm.
We'll point everything out. And those are the ones that scare him. Is the spirits back there by the canal. He also said that it sounded like the spirits, a lot of them were whispering after he left his room. So kind of like he would hear them in the room still.
Mm-hmm.
They have been hearing a lot of stuff at night in the basement and a little kid crying, and that's key to the voice capture that I have. They hear him in the bathroom doorway and had found the back door was open when they got up that morning. and then it was closed that next night. It was open and then closed. It was open in the morning and then closed at night for some reason. So yeah, I mean, as far as the voice capture that I have, this was captured as I was interviewing.
So this was initial interview investigation as it's going. And didn't even really get a chance to like set anything up. This is just as you're going.
Yeah, the other things are kind of like hit miss. Some of the voice captures we got. This is the one again is still questioning me. We had Blake Calhoun out to do a psychic walkthrough, and she was calling out that there were, you were there for that, fairies and
Elementals. Yep.
And brownies. And then I asked her to describe it for me, and she said they're just small in nature, about this big, and they just move kind of. And so,
kind of like we would see, like a fairy would fly and a butterfly and things of that nature.
I keep getting drawn to the closet, but that's typical of. This is just a fork.
When you guys came in here, was Hunter on the bed?
You've got some elementals in here too.
I think so.
You've got some elementals in this closet.
Elementals.
Fairies, brownies.
Go-betweens?
Yeah.
Would they be a certain shape? Certain. I
They're
mean,
little
can you just?
small. They're little small things. They're hiding in the closet here.
Do you mind if I come in?
Oh, go please, go ahead. I'm feeling something in this corner. Right in
The
that
cat's
corner.
outside.
Okay.
We got a cat?
They do have a cat.
Yeah, but he's outside.
Is
He's
it in the
yeah.
corner though?
No.
No, this isn't a feline energy. I know feline energy.
You did capture something on video when I was sitting in the closet.
That is by far my favorite piece of video evidence that
Really?
we. Yes, it is. It always has been. I love that
It
one.
kind of like flew up there, but. You got to take in consideration the video resolution and everything, and could it be something? I mean, it was white, it's
Could be a lens flare that just
Yeah.
happens to, as you're
Right.
panning through and fades off. But
right.
it
I
just
like the fact that IR is there so we could see, but I also wouldn't mind natural light to actually see if it's existing in that natural light. So I know there is a camera that does the dual lens. It's just I don't have it because I think it's a little pricey. But
well, it's probably with the ones that just charge the room with the photons and take us,
yeah,
we get that. It's a game changer. This is all over for
yeah,
us.
we don't need it if we charge the
Right.
room properly, right?
Right.
If we engineer the environment like we think we should.
Right.
Well, we were talking about this George one time, and I said, you know what? If we charge the room, the greatest energy on the planet is like if you had cellophane, like if you like an old cigarette pack, and you take the cellophane off,
Sure.
and that thing sticks to your skin.
Mhm.
That's the strongest energy, right? I mean, that right there. So fill up the room with this plastic stuff, and then have hopefully charge the spirit enough to where the spirit walks
Just
through.
charge the
and
static,
that-
and it's just
Well, that
That's
stuff
great.
we're creating a skin for the ghost.
so all I can picture now is like the old prank where you walk in the room and the saran wrap just like hit your face. We were going to do that to a ghost. We're going to suction
Imagine if you saw
cellophane
it.
to them.
Imagine if that worked and you saw a human being with the static on there walking around.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. You don't have any. What would you do?
I'd be speechless at that point in time. I would be like, look, there's a walking cigarette pack coming toward me. Right. But that I mean, honestly, if
it
that
almost
would
was
work,
possible, right? It could
Yeah.
happen.
right? It does sound possible at that point in time. All right. So back to our story with Hunter and folks here.
I kind of want to talk about the area a little bit.
Let's talk about the area.
I mean, let's bring the city into the picture here because, the city.
Let's
I
go
got
to the map.
I got a few of my notes here. I might as well read it if I took the time to highlight it.
Sure thing. Let me pull this up here.
Oh, you're gonna pull up the map.
Oh yeah, so I want to pull up the map if you want. Oh, go ahead.
While you're doing that, so William Ritchie and his 14-year-old son came into Marseilles around 1829 to set up a base for trade with the Indians, as well as the farm. They stayed for a time with James Galloway on his claims south of the river. When Mrs. Galloway died, Ritchie and his son cut down a walnut tree, hewed out boards, and made a coffin for her burial in a plot that's on the top of the hill, still called the Galloway Cemetery. So I'll show you that. That place is cool. You just go in and you drive up. I mean, it's so dense in there at times. If you're in there during the day, your headlights will come on.
Oh, really?
So you're just going up this hill. And it's a nice little cemetery up there. It's Galloway. And you should go up the stairs to get there. But the gate's open. So we'll drive on up. Part of the road is washed away here. Kind of dense up here, and you got the lights turning on already. And it's gonna open up to the cemetery. Gonna be a quick trip because this is getting eaten alive. There's a mausoleum, 1877. There's the front gate. There used to be a pole here for something, possibly a sign. Walk outside the gate. Beautiful out here on this hill. And there's the stairway leading up to the cemetery. There's that sign, that's where I came in at. Go back and there's the woods and then the cemetery. Locked up tight. No one can get in, but they might be able to get out. Okay, so let's go to the end of the back of the cemetery here. Here's the Galloways. My steady hand. But later, Ephraim Sprague. Hope I'm pronouncing that. Sorry, Ephraim, if you're out there, or Ephraim, was the first man to set. He was the first man to set up a water wheel at the head of the rapids. There's rapids there, so there was a river there, or is a river there. And he soon had a sawmill in operation. It was his misfortune, though, that Lovell Kimball, who arrived in 1833, saw a chance to seize control of the water power. Learning that Sprague did not yet have legal title to his water frontage, Kimball established overlapping claims and put up a dam that turned the water away from Sprague's shallow mill race, boasting of the mill and workshops he intended to put up. He refused to lease any of the power he controlled, and Sprague had to close his prosperous little sawmill. So I know a little bit about Kimball. He came out and he started Clarkson, and he realized that the main road wasn't cutting through there, so he moved to Marcel's and took advantage of people there. And he's actually got a statue of some sort out there in the memorial, and he's claimed to be the founder of this city. But in bitter rage, Sprague stood on the riverbank and with upraised hands prayed that fire should burn and flood should wash away everything in Marcel's as long as the memory of Kimball should last. Apparently, a descendant of pioneers has observed. Eventually, the petition was heard and contents noted, for since that time, mills have burned at the drop of a match, and dams and bridges have been destroyed by flood in uncommon numbers. But Lovell Kimball paid no heed to the curse and pushed on to make his dream a reality.
So you're saying this guy put a curse on this other gentleman in the area, and it had some type of effect, whether it was coincidence or not, but things were flooding, things were on fire.
Yeah, so Kimball was taking advantage of, Sprague's little mishap and kind of monopolized everything. So what happened to Kimball? Well, he ended up heavily in debt, but still hopeful. His flour mill and sawmill were destroyed by fire. His insurance claims were evaded by some trick, and his creditors took everything that he had. He died in the cholera epidemic of 1848 and was buried in a small cemetery on the bluff above Pearl Street. When the city held a great centennial, celebration in 1934, Kimball's grave and its shattered tombstone were located, and a marker was placed to honor him as the founder of the city. So that's kind of like where Marcel started. Now I want to go in and quote something from Ghosts of America website. The grave of Lovell Kimball, situated in an obscured area nestled within the bluffs, is a relatively unknown gravesite. One of the founders of the town that is now Marcel's, Illinois, entrepreneur, freethinker, failed capitalist, Lovell Kimball now lies nearly 200 years after his death in a wooden place where no visitor ever ventures. It seems though with a voice had a failed idea of placing a cemetery in a certain location, then changed their minds for some unknown reason. That left the man Lovell to seek out eternity in a very lonely place after his death. The marker is still there, and so is the body. If you feel adventurous, you may be able to locate this place. Please be warned that this may be private property, so ask permission before you venture into an area. And please, for your own safety, don't go alone. And that was submitted by Thomas. So Nick, you up for it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're not going alone.
Paranormal pickers. I think we got a treasure to dig up.
So yeah, oh boy, that would be a treasure. We find this man in his wooden box. We're gonna take over the Kimball fortune or lack thereof, as it were in Marcino. So
it's something else about this too. I found funny that I had pulled out. So there was a rivalry.
I got you.
Old Town and West End. So the town was separated, and there was a feud between the two business sections of the town, which continued for a generation. Frequent fistfights between gangs who dared each other to cross the neutral ground of Pearl Street. Their elders exchanged taunts, not always in the spirit of good nature, and defeated moves to combine the schools in opposite ends of the town into one system.
Why do I feel like this is a combination of West Side Story and Footloose happening right now? Like, first off, there's no dancing. Secondly, we're crossing the field and we're just snapping as we go along. Like, that's fantastic.
So that kind of
So,
gives you the feel of the town, you know.
well, I mean, and
The
so
start
going
of it
back
anyway.
to, yeah, and going back to Hunter too. I mean, the feel of the town, there's built on animosity, as all good stories are. Um, and Hunter saying that there's a small congregation of folks that come in off the river or off the channel out back to him. Seems like the river was and still is. I've been there. A popular meeting place, popular place for business to go down. Something that brought business in to the area. So I mean, river's got some importance. And if
Yeah.
my memory serves, it was not very far from where their house was, where the channel and the river was running right behind them.
Yeah, and I didn't even get into the construction of the canal. So I'm sending you a picture. I think that's a website that shows the photo, black and white photo of Marcel's from 1922.
Okay. While we do that, I'm going to zoom in on the map here too, just to kind of give you an idea. I just wanted to show everybody where we were at, in regards to Chicago, Sycamore, everything going through there. If we're going to Marseille, so we're right down in here, East Bluff Street. I mean, it's a drive. It's a beautiful area. And I'm not going to give the exact location of the house. I know you might have sent that to me, but for the sake of the privacy of the folks.
Do the satellite view.
Oh, I'm planning on it.
Oh, okay.
You can have you got the river obviously that comes through here with the channel. You can probably see when I do switch over to the satellite view, you'll probably see what used to be the old mill, or at least the area of where the mill was. There's some great architecture down there and some great abandoned buildings that are in the area as well.
Yeah, and there's a memorial wall for veterans and a tree memorial for soldiers as well. And you can see that right there.
So here's the memorial wall. Obviously, you got your river that's coming through. Now, you'll have to kind of stop me if I get close to the area, but I think it was right around this area. You can tell me if I'm wrong or if I'm...
Yeah, it's small. You would have to zoom. Well, first, let's go on this side of the river. So down.
I'm going to go south?
Yeah. Or west or whatever. Now scan out a little. Just scan out a little bit.
You got it.
I can see the middle of town. So you're going to go. See where it says Galloway Cemetery? So kind of zoom in right on the bridge, pretty much right where your cursor is.
You got it. I sure don't see Galloway Cemetery in front of me, but
then keep going. Keep going so I can see the south side.
Oh, sorry.
West side. It's actually the west side. And you want to go the other way. I wish I had control.
Hey, I suppose so.
Well, it should be right there, right where that green.
There's some campground here. This is where the memorial wall is that you were referring
so see
to.
where, yeah, you want to go to the left a little bit.
This way?
Hello?
Yeah, I'm going. I didn't know if you wanted this left or my other left.
Yeah, see where that road kind of goes? Yeah, right there. Zoom in right in the middle. Yeah, it's hard to maneuver you.
Right. But at any rate, let me just
So
put in the cemetery.
That's where Galloway Cemetery is. Yeah, go back where you were with the kind of go in the middle of town there, in the middle of Main Street and Pearl or whatever. You could just zoom in.
I think I found Galloway Cemetery. Let me see. Here's the cemetery. beauty of modern technology. I can at least put in where you need to go. So here's your cemetery where you're looking.
Oh yeah. And that's a bluff. You have to walk up these stairs or drive the road. It's a pretty good walk.
There's your haunted house right here. We're paranormal picking.
That's
So
what they say.
right. So it's surrounded by trees, surrounded by brush, everything else that goes into it. So the Galloway Cemetery. And then the channel, obviously, coming off the river.
Mm-hmm.
And then you sent me something else to pull up, you said?
Yep, just zoom in where the no, go back. Zoom in where the red dot is. Okay. And then scroll to scroll west, which is down. Yep. Okay, then go to the left. All right, right there. Kind of see where your cursor is.
Mm-hmm.
Move down a little bit. Kind of move down, and just right there. Nope, up. Where the woods are still.
Yep, right in here.
Right by. Go to the right, and then down. No. Your cursor. Go
Oh,
back.
okay.
Okay, so zoom to the. Now go to the right. Well, that's the house right there. But go back to the other way. You're going the wrong way.
Okay.
All right, what I want you to do. Okay, see where you stop. Right
Where
there.
right here?
Yeah, that's it. That's the old bridge. That's the old toll
Mhm.
bridge. So if you're adventurous,
You
to
could
go
still
out there-
see it in there.
Yeah. So that's actually someone's property, and we investigated their house too. They lived in the old toll booth house. It's their own house now. So you know how old that thing is.
Yeah, no kidding. Look at that, the toll booth. There's not even any. The nearest tollway is
Well, the IM and
pretty far
canal
away.
used to run through their backyard. That used to be the canal right there.
Okay.
It's a dry bed now. So
Makes sense why it would be called Illinois-Michigan Canal Trail.
and stories. Of course, you have all these workers walking out up and down that canal. How many died? How many lived? Are they buried there? Did they bury them when they couldn't work anymore or something? You never know. There's
Yeah.
so many.
Well, that's what they used to do back when they were building everything. If you went down there, you went. You pour the concrete right over you as you lie.
But more importantly about Marcel's is back on Main Street, there was a place called Pops on Main Street. And this place had the most amazing pot roast sandwiches. And you could get it on garlic. I'm telling you, I'm not even laughing. And I remember the taste still to this day. And that's been, 20 years? I actually had a punch card, and I don't even live in the area because I wanted to go down there and eat the sandwich. And then
You said it was called Pops?
Pops on Main Street, it used to be called.
Yeah.
It hasn't been there for a while. They closed down when I went down there, and I'm like, man. But I told you could get cheese on it and everything. I said, this is the only sandwich that you could, when you eat it, the cheese makes this little smile face. But that was awesome. And I talked about it so much, and everyone's like, yeah. So I'm like, well, come on down. And so there was 8 of us, I think, at the time. We were all sitting there, and they're like, oh my God, people are buying stuff to take home with them. That's how cool it was.
Yeah, it was
They bought
amazing.
extras to take home with them. But anyways, that was so. The last part that I want to show you is if you want to. Oh yeah, that's the picture. If you want to scroll down and look for the black and white, it's like a 1922 picture of Marcel's. Not that one. That one, 1922. So that's a black and white photo of that. I think you can enlarge it, can't you? or something. Yeah.
It looks like the fires have already started from the curse too in that one.
So pop in Riverview Cemetery.
Hop in Riverview Cemetery.
Yeah. So Riverview Cemetery is where Nellie is buried, and in 2019, I think that was it. 2019.
So here's Riverview.
2019, Laura and I actually went out there and planted some flowers. Wow, that just said but it just said it kind of mocked me in a way. That was kind of, I would say on the side, like right there. Okay. One on each side.
She's about to kneel her with me.
Oh, yeah. Do I have anything in the truck? I got the skids in the truck. I could probably pop this piece of wood off.
What? It's getting harder on my
You know, when we were hunting, you know, we wanted kind of, it didn't seem spiritual. It kind of seemed removed, and we wanted.
Look at this cemetery, man.
Oh yeah, it's huge. And
Right.
so we, you know, we kind of felt that the house seemed cold. When I left there, the last thing I do is I go through the house to make sure that everything was put back in order. And when I walked through there, when everyone was left, I mean, the only thing that was left behind was Mark's shoes, but he tucked them underneath something. I couldn't see them. He left his shoes there, freaking hippie. So I walked through there, and I got to tell you, the house seemed lifeless. It felt cold.
Yeah.
And it was the weirdest feeling. And the client called me the next day when she came home, because they stayed at a hotel that night. The next day she called me and she says, "What did you guys do?" I'm like, "Well, what do you mean?" And she explained to me exactly how I felt when I was leaving there, is that there was no spirits there. There was no life there anymore. It was just the strangest feeling. And she explained, I didn't say anything to her. She described exactly how I felt when I left there. And then as soon as she was done, I said, "That's how I felt when we left." So
Now, if I heard you correctly, because I was still in awe of the size of this cemetery that's here, this happened directly after you and Laura placed flowers on Nellie's.
no, this
grave?
happened
Okay.
as soon as we investigated the first time.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. No, Laura and I were planting flowers. We went out there about 9 years later to plant flowers next to Nellie's grave as a way of saying, you know,
Thank
hey,
you. Show respect.
you know, show respect, pretty much. Yeah.
Do you
Just very historical side.
do you recall in the area as to where Nellie might have been? I know it's been 12
Right
years
where
now.
you were kind of at.
This spot up here with the red dot.
Yeah, that's towards the end of it. Yeah, it's on that
Yeah.
side. I want to say like on the right side of that last road.
Okay. Yeah, this thing spans huge, man. I mean, it's got two sides of the road.
Well, I did come across somebody else here. I can show you this link here. This kind of surprised me. I know we're getting close to time here.
Oh, we're okay. We still got a
yeah.
little bit.
So here's a link. So as you're pulling that up, there's this gentleman here.
Looks like Wyatt Earp.
William Lang. I wonder if Tim's related. And Laura, I think you have Langs in your family or something. But William Lang is recognized as one of Denver, Colorado's best residential architects of all time.
Really?
Yeah. So a little bit. His family was lived out here in like Ottawa, Oregon, and during his brief career in Denver, lasting less than a decade, he built hundreds of buildings, many of which are still standing. Most of them are recognized by the general public today as distinguished. And he won awards and everything. He died at the age of 51. So that's William Ling.
I'll tell you what's distinguished is that mustache, man. That guy.
I know.
I am jealous. He's got a very modern look to him for a guy back in 1877 as to where that signature was.
And he had red hair too, apparently.
Yeah.
So William Lang was a dreadful burden, having been unfit to care for himself for at least a year. On December 30th, 1896, he applied for a pension. So doctor's care. So if you go to page, you could type up there in the little box.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just go to the next page because that's page 2. So I just read from that page. And go to 21.
Page 21, you say. And where can we find this document that you've got here?
It's online.
Okay.
And the same link I just sent you.
Well, I'll have to share that for others.
Well, not page 21 of the book. It's going to be this page here with the house. So I think you could.
I follow you now. I can see the page.
Okay,
here.
there you go. Yep. So there it says on August 7th, 1897, he disappeared from his brother's home, not knowing where he was, not knowing where he was where he was going. That's a misprint. Okay. He wandered as far as Morris, Illinois, where he was arrested as a tramp and vagrant and fined $3. Since he did not have $3, he was remanded in custody of the jailer. He was so filthy that the jailer would not allow him in the jail, and he was escorted to the edge of town and told him not to come back.
So let me get this straight. This chap disappears from home. Nobody knows where he's at. Wanders to Morris, where they arrest him for being without a home, a vagrant. Yeah, a tramp, not having money in his pocket, basically. Not $3 to his name, but instead of jailing him, they decide he's too damn dirty. They take him to the edge of town and tell him to skedaddle.
Yep. And at 6:30 a.m. on August 21st, 1897, William Lang was walking east from Marseilles along the southern of a double set of east-west railroad tracks. When he stumbled off of the tracks to avoid the westbound freight, he did not see the eastbound mail express on the north track. This sentence is probably Scott's poetic just license, but the RMN reported that he was hit by the fast mail going east. He was killed instantly by the impact. He was 51.
So he lasted about 2 weeks?
Yeah, so the jury believed the accident to have been unavoidable and that the engineer he did everything he could to avoid it. His only personal effects at the time of death, aside from his clothing, was one lead pencil. He's buried at Riverside Cemetery.
Interesting.
He has a GAR plot. So he's there. He's in Find a Grave, I want to say. Psychiatrists and analysts of Lang's career should suggest that he was a victim of a manic depressive psychosis.
Really?
Yeah.
And he's still touted as having some of the best architecture in the area too.
In Denver,
Yeah.
Colorado. So a cool little find,
Yeah.
Paranormal picker.
Picked that one right out of nowhere, man. That's pretty good. While we're on the subject of it too, in the area in Marseille, before we move on and maybe take some questions or anything, I know you wanted to play that clip.
No, we got more here.
You carry on. I love the build. Keep the build going because the payoff at the end is like tremendous.
Well, again, from Ghosts of America website, so I'm reading from that. So Riverside Cemetery, there's a grave marker of a P something, southwest corner, EVPs and visual images taken blurry on amateur equipment show a man and a little girl, both fully functional apparitions with ecto substances blurring the stills. Little girl smiles as she holds a small dog. The male figure turns to look at the camera with a very stern look. Submitted by T, it says. And then later it says, I am the person who captured the apparitions of Riverview Cemetery in Marseilles. I was there cleaning leaves and grass off my grandfather's marker when I took a walk to the southwest corner of the cemetery. I got down on one knee and began to take pics. It wasn't until I got home that I realized what I had just captured on video. The images showed two fully formed apparitions, one being that of a little girl holding a dog as she looked straight at the video, and the other of a man with a mustache who was looking down at her. Not that he was the only guy that had a mustache, but
Sure, but it's possible that I mean I saw that mustache, man. I pointed that thing out, and but to see that, I could see it, and
so
he is
the
buried
girl,
there.
yeah. So the girl stood there. All of a sudden, she seemed to realize that she was being filmed. She smiled, a huge motion-filled smile that was unmistakable. The man then turned from her to the camera with a stern look on his face, indicating that he was protecting her. Please understand that this was not a single isolated incident. This happened at least 3 separate times on 3 separate visits. The last visit I made, I found that the little girl was standing right in front of the camera at least 2 feet away. Submitted by T. So this T person, probably this Thomas person, has video of some stuff. I don't know. I haven't seen it. So yeah, we can take a breather here. Do you want to recap on anything?
Well, I was trying to find the Ghost of America. Yeah, let's just do a full on recap of everything that we have. So while we have the map, while we have the story of Hunter, the family, kind of give an idea of everything we're looking at. So as we established, we've got the river, we've got everything prime for a haunting, everything prime for energy, old canals, ley lines all over the place, ley lines, as far as the old toll bridge, the railroad tracks, everything else coming through. I think it's interesting too, just kind of the general layout of the area here, kind of not necessarily the shapes mean anything, but just the feng shui, as it were, of the city in and of
Yeah,
itself.
just north of the city too. If you're heading towards Norway, there is another cemetery there, and it's called Shaver Cemetery. And the neighbors that we were investigating, they took us out there. So it was Tim and I and Scott and Chris. And I had my Silverado, my trusty old Silverado that has, well, it died recently, but died with 383,000 miles on it. So it's been with me for
God rest his
a
soul.
lot of these pickers expeditions. But so we parked on the main road there, which is a gravel road. And we walked back in there and we saw all these tombstones. The place has grown over. No one's taking care of this property. And we were in there taking pictures. And I pulled my truck up, but I couldn't, from the look of the ruts, if I backed up, I would have probably lost my muffler. So then I kind of walked the path to see, okay, I could drive this, I got a 4-wheel drive. But I didn't gauge the ruts. So forward I go, hit the first rut, branches wiped out my antenna and scrapped my whole side of my car. And then I got around the little needle turn, the needlehead turn, pinhead turn or whatever, and got around that. And then I hit this other rut that took me this way, but it was a short one, and it popped me back out, and my truck banged into a old tree stump and put a nice dent in my car, in my truck. And then I got back to the gravel road, and I'll tell you, as luck will have it, the one place that I wanted to get hit would be that place because it wasn't by the gas tank. It wasn't by any of the doors. It was like this no nonsense part there. And that's where I had it done. And so I'm like, oh, cool. All right. What's the next stop? And they're like this. Aren't you freaking out? I'm like, no, man, it's a trap.
That's what it's made for, right?
But no, it was fun. Yeah, of course.
And it leaves a memory for you for the
Yeah.
to remember the story by too. So somebody was looking out for you one way or the other, whether they were looking
Hey, I
to
saved
bring
my
you back and
muffler.
keep you. Yeah,
I saved my muffler.
save the muffler, save the doors, save the gas tank. Everything was working out fine for you.
Exactly. And I'll tell you, Wedren is another area to go to. I know there's history out there. There's an old where like gangsters and mayors of Chicago would go out there to Sulphur Springs, I want to think it's called. It was like this whole little place. I want to say it's apartments now, but it was like this where this spring was and you could be energized and everything. Sulphur Springs, I think it's called. But
So
anyway.
as far as just picking that highway, Highway 6 that runs through there, or anything that runs through the state park in the Illinois River area, you can find so much history and so much stuff that
Oh yeah.
you
Norway especially. They
Yeah.
got that plane out there on the highway that's like a memorial. It's a crashed plane on
Yeah,
the side of the
yeah.
road. Have you seen it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We gotta make it out there again. It's cool. I like it out there, especially Galloway. And then, well, now we are on a hunt for apparitions at Riverview Cemetery. So let me pull up my EVPs that we've been talking about. Hopefully, you guys can hear them.
And this is from the house, right?
This
This
is
is, as
Hunter's
you mentioned, the Hunter's Ghost, or Hunter's Ghost. I'm going to call it that. But from the house, the interview, just initial sweep of the place.
Yeah, let me get my folder here. All right. Continue talking. I'm just gotta find.
I
I just gotta find my notes here.
I want like a drum roll, like as we roll it out. So I will continue talking.
Well, there's a lot of different things here. I thought I had it numbered correctly.
That's all right. And so, trying to think of the last time that I was there too. I didn't really have. I'm interesting that you mentioned, when it came to Asperger's, autism, things of that nature. That this was prior to my son being born, that we were down there. So I didn't really know at the time how personal I would, take a case like this until now when we're reviewing it and I see, and I've thought many a time, as we'll explain or we'll hear with Hunter, that my kid could have some type of extrasensory perception, or at least heightened sensory perception, because I know that he's affected by loud noises, quiet noises, tactile, any sense that you can think of senses does have an effect on him as far as one way or the other. So I could see it being the same for Hunter's case.
I just want to play the EVP, so to speak, first, just to give you what it sounds like.
That she thought that you were going to that she thought that you were going to
So hear that?
Mm-hmm. Sound like a little cough or a kid crying?
All right, so that little that's the voice capture. Not much, right? But let me paint the picture now. So let me open this audio up a little bit, and you're going to hear Julie, open the door, let the cat in, and then you're going to hear Hunter saying, kitty, 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 kitty. And you're going to hear him talking. You're going to hear me and the older brother. We hear a noise, and we kind of explained what the noise was, but I didn't capture the noise. And I actually made a comment that I said, oh, they're probably laughing at us.
Oh, so then you get the
And then Hunter's talking, and with Hunter, he doesn't stop talking until he hears this voice. And that's when he says, did you hear that? So listening to that whimpering, you could tell that it happens while Hunter's talking, which is key, because it could sound like Hunter. And one of the things too is he said that he saw something in the mirror and the reflection looks like you. Like me. All right. Anyway, so that's the one. So let's see.
And after it's like, oh, look, right there, that happened. Yep. So we got that. My audio didn't capture it. Tim's audio. I knew that was a hamster. Yeah, what was that? Yeah. Okay, they're laughing at us. Alright, let's see if I still have anything on my camera. It doesn't have really quality. You okay there, buddy?
Yeah.
Alright. I had decent.
So you're taking the hang around here?
A little bit longer.
Oh, my mom said that she thought that you were going to, but huh?
I hadn't messed with this thing in months.
Did you hear that?
It's been like 2 years since I've done this thing.
Hey, could you mess with somebody on that one?
That's interesting. And then you hear him go, huh? Did you guys hear that? And for you being there too, and for him to react in real time, like, hey, wait, did you hear
brother
that?
and I looked at each other and said, we didn't,
Right, we didn't do anything. What do you?
So kind of to recap the audio is, again, Julie's letting the cat in. Hunter, you hear with the little voice saying, hey, kitty, 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 kitty,
Yeah.
that stuff. And then you hear me and the older brother talking about this noise that we heard, possibly a hamster, he says. And then Hunter says, he asked me, am I staying long? Pretty much. He was just saying, you going
to be here a while? Yeah.
And I go, for a little bit. And I think that was why the spirit responded. Because I said, well, I might be here for a little bit longer. And they're like, either, oh, come on, leave already, I mean, if they're if they're following the spirits to the end of the driveway, they're probably looking at their ghost watches going like, this
Hey, it's right. Get out of here, man. And right. You've worn out your welcome at this point.
So I will play the whimpering and then I'll play the long version again, just to kind of, now that everyone feels it,
Mm-hmm.
That she thought that you were going to.
Okay, so that's the whimpering.
And after it's like, oh, look, right there, that happened. Yep. So we got that. My audio didn't capture it. Tim's audio. I knew that was a hamster. Yeah, what was that? Yeah. Okay, they're laughing at us. Alright, let's see if I still have anything on my camera. It doesn't have really quality. You okay there, buddy?
Yeah.
Alright. I had decent.
So you're taking the hang around here?
A little bit longer.
Oh, my mom said that she thought that you were going to, but, huh?
I hadn't messed with this thing in months.
Did you hear that?
It's been like 2 years since I've been on this thing.
Like, no, I
No,
didn't.
I didn't
Did
hear.
you mess with somebody on that one?
No, I didn't hear that, Hunter.
Have you, when was the last time you had any conversation or communication with Hunter or his family?
Probably since the last investigation there. No, I've emailed her once in the past. But yeah, he's probably 2021 now.
That's what I was thinking.
So I was actually, I would love to reach out to them and have him and his mom come up to the lab one night.
Yeah, just a follow up, just to see how the kid's doing, what they, where they're at now.
See if
where they've been.
the ghosts are still there with him.
Yeah, I mean, because the last communication prior to that you had, or after the investigation, she said, "What'd you guys do?" And she said, "I was."
Well, I
Right,
know they
clear.
sold. I know they sold a house, and I had an opportunity to buy it.
Yeah,
But it would have been way too far for me to get to working back.
sure.
But I'll tell you, if that's a house to buy, I want to buy it, and I want to
Right.
excavate that damn backyard.
You're right. So what made you think when you got there? If you can describe that for me a little bit, what made you feel like you wanted to dig up that backyard? I mean, give me the idea of the backyard, and I'm gonna pull up.
I just got the. I mean, you just don't go in the backyard and feel comfortable because you could see the woods, and you know where the toll bridge was, and it just leads to nowhere.
Mhm.
And then there's like this little, rise in the land. What are those called? Brims or whatever.
A berm.
Berm. Thank you. And there's that back there, but just kind of like just when I went in last night to look at the map to send you the link, I just got this impression that there's something buried back there, and that they say the animals are buried back there, but
Yeah.
prior to the animals being back there,
Okay.
I don't know.
You can only imagine what would be back there too. I mean, it's a heavily wooded area. I wish I could drop the little man out here and like, hey, just drop it in somebody's backyard, but they won't let me do that.
Oh, you just click on it, and then that should bring up the side where you can get the street view. So you're not even in the right area.
Right. No, I'm not. I was just trying to bring up a visual of, the wooden area in the back. I don't want to, if anybody does listen to this later on and come back and see where we're at, I don't want somebody walking out and be like, well, that's where they were. I want to just start digging up this back area. I don't want that to happen, especially when it's a different homeowner now. But Sycamore Street just draws my name to it already anyway. So just hang out there on Sycamore Street.
Well, that's kind of back to the EVPs and the disembodied voices. This is early on in our investigation time.
Mhm.
This is where we're learning. I mean, we're still always learning. There's I mean, our system of investigating is not perfect. It's not fail-proof. People are going to be questioning everything until there's a fail-proof system. So to capture something and to play it, someone's going to question it. But this piece of evidence here, to me, when I take the audio and I show the bigger picture, you can hear all the elements. You can hear everything. I know exactly where everyone is. And that's what we do. We have to know where everybody's at, to the point of just trying to figure out what an audio is saying. So my very first EVP was guess what? Was a yes. Well, you know what?
An affirmation.
You know what sounds like yes? rubber tires on water driving down on this damn road. That's what sounds like that on my digital recorder. So here I am in a cemetery listening back to my audio going, yes, I'm like, there's a spirit, No, there's no spirit. There's a tire going down the road. So you have to take everything into consideration. You have to.
I had
Well,
oh, go
Well,
ahead.
hold on to continue with my point here is this is one of the first piece of evidence is that we're actually questioning EVP now because we're saying this little kid heard it, so therefore it's a disembodied voice. I heard it on my audio, so is it EVP or disembodied voice?
Right.
So EVP to me I think we rule it out. I don't think we even use the term. It's a voice capture. We captured a voice that the child heard who has the capabilities of hearing at that frequency.
Mm-hmm.
And we also test this theory in what is called mosquito tones. You play different frequencies. The younger people will hear the other frequencies where the older people cannot. So spirits, same thing. These sounds are coming at us at different frequencies. So that's kind of where we were learning that process in our paranormal research, including the hunter's ghost in the closet, the resolution, the IR. I mean, we would have to question that, even though it's a cool video. We can't say that it's one thing or another. It could be a moth. It could be, it could be Nellie going like this to me. It
Yeah.
could be anything.
It really could be anything. And you bring up a very good point with, the frequencies and the tones and everything that people hear. And that's why you just have to think of, one, every explanation that could happen for whether it's paranormal or not, or even the converse side, whether it's paranormal. If it's possible for him to hear it and not possible for you to hear it, but possible for you to hear it on a recording, it happened, obviously. That's where we can all agree on. But what caused it? That's what leads to further investigation, and that's what that's the mystery that I honestly hope never gets solved, because it keeps everybody going back and looking for more and hungry.
It takes a lot for something to give me the chills.
Yeah,
and
but that'll
12 years ago, and this is still giving me the chills.
Still gives you the you bring up something that just sparked my memory of a random cemetery that I had stopped in. I'm like you and probably a lot of the other people that will end up listening to this as well. I know somebody had mentioned before they love cemeteries. It's just the nature of the beast. That's like for us, a kid going to a candy store. Of course I'm going to go to a cemetery. Why wouldn't I, right?
Well, I go to candy stores too.
Well, I also go to liquor stores too, but I didn't want to use that analogy.
That's liquid candy.
Or courage, as the same. So, but anyway, I went to this cemetery. It was in Iowa. I forget the name of it off the top of my head. Just the audio of this is what sticks in my brain, right? But a beautiful cemetery. I'm out there and by myself, at least to the best of my knowledge, and I decide that I want to run some EVP through my phone, just a standard, Samsung phone. This was probably 6, 7, maybe longer years ago, but just a standard Samsung phone with a recorder, trying to see what I can get just for shits and giggles, right? And so I'm running this thing. I do a maybe 10, 15-minute session, and I go get back in my car to get going. Well, I wanted to listen to it before I left just to see while it was fresh on my mind. So I took the plug in, I get the gimmick and the apparatus going, I got everything rolling. I got my audio cranked in the car so that way I could hear anything that comes in. Well, the oh shit moment that got me out of it was, I don't know if it was something that I did or manipulated, or if it was just something otherworldly trying to give me a jump or a scare.
Like a finger across your microphone type of thing?
No, the audio when I hit play, the audio was in like super slow motion, right? So when it first kicked in the speakers, all I heard was like, it sounded like Satan himself coming through, like, "Are there any spirits here?" And I'm like, what? I'm like, what is going on? And it just, one of those things that just chilled me. But again, that was just me taking a realization, like, well, I got to understand my equipment, and I got to see it, like, things can happen. I don't know if I did that, again, intentionally, unintentionally, but it was enough to give me a startle, especially being alone in a cemetery. But I couldn't bear to listen to it, that the rest of that evening until I was around other people and saw if it was something that I did or didn't do. But at any rate, again, goes back to our discussion and our story about EVPs and voice. I don't even know if they got to be electrical. With voice phenomena. Could just be voice phenomena,
We're
disembodied voice
capturing
phenomena.
something. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
in a future paranormal pickers, we'll touch on reversing our voice captures and what's the meaning behind it. There could
Is
be
there meaning behind it? That's
well, yeah. There's a big discussion too.
of
Like
course.
if they being the spirits, they don't have vocal cords, so they have to use us or nature to get the message across. So they can actually use my voice. That's where a lot of people get voice captures that sound like themselves. You have, if I am saying something at a different rate of speed and it sounds like something else, and then if I can't make out what it says, one thing we learned is to reverse it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you reverse it, and if it has a meaning, is that the spirit manipulating me to tell some or to say something to me? That's how they talk. They use my vocal cords to produce their message.
Yeah. Yeah. And it ties in again to the same. People are going to have their own theory of all backwards masking with record players, things like that. But it can
But
get deep.
anyway, it's not true. None of this is true, Nick. None of
Well,
it's
I know, but but also like I wanted to mention in reverse EVPs and stuff because there is some cultures and people, whether they wear tinfoil hats, whether they wear tan hats, some folks can think that, like if you listen to a politician's speech and you listen to that in reverse, you can get the true
you hear
meaning
the
of what.
truth.
Yeah, exactly. You get well. Yeah, I slept like a politician last night, lied on one side and then the other, but that's a whole nother story and a whole
That you
nother
thought
dialogue.
that you were going to that you thought that you were going to
And to me, it almost sounds like the more you play it, it almost sounds like it could be with laughing, but a cackling, like.
A cackle, a laugh, or a whimper. It's just
Mhm.
it's hard to tell.
Mhm.
It's like if you take it into contact with me staying there, they're like, come on, I don't know, or the
Right?
fact, because I know we were talking about something because at the beginning part there, I was saying that Tim and I had audio that we couldn't make out or something there. I don't know. I didn't pull back far enough to get the full picture, but I could listen to this all my audio from this case forwards and backwards, and
Well, one day when we reach the level of Hans Holzer, we're going to have other people going through our files. So, just
yeah,
keep a good record of them, and one day they will be archived out for folks.
because Hunter's running around, and at one point, you can't understand him when you're playing back the audio. So there's like one section where he says, "This is where they get sucked into boa," and I'm like, "What the hell's boa?" And he's sitting there fiddling around with some dowel head, between his fingers and something, saying, "This is where they get sucked into boa," and I'm like, "Wow, I didn't even have time to respond." And he's like, "You want to go in the attic? That's where the spiders are at." And his mom and I are going, "No, we're cool. No, that's good. No, the attic's fine."
I'm all good. Well, that's why I say just to get, if we could get in touch with him 10 years down the road, see what his memory's like, if anything, see what anybody's memory's like of the place that they were at, and what transpired after the fact, if anything.
Hey,
I'd love to hear it. It's twice now in each of our episodes that we've done here that Hunter has come up. Not Hunter just as in Hunter the person, but Hunter area last week with Dale. Keep in mind we're dropping these Easter eggs for Supernatural in here with Hunters.
Yep. We got some guests coming up next week. gonna have another good show with some stuff and
Who do we got next week? Tell us about it real quick. We've got about a minute and a half to
a
recap.
surprise, man. Hey, you never know what the next supernatural is gonna be, right?
That's true. Surprises. I love surprises.
We're pickers.
Right?
We don't ever know what treasures we're gonna pick.
This is true.
I'm Frank Prince. I can't even say my own damn name, and I'm drinking Pepsi.
Right. All right. Well, here's to Frank. Here's to everybody that joined us this evening. I want to thank everybody, not only everybody that joined us live, but for those of you that listen in every week and listen, whether it's on YouTube. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on StreamYard. You might even find us in your backyard. You never know. Dean may show up at a storage facility. I may show up at a cemetery. I may show up to repossess your car. You never know. Right? But with that, any closing thoughts from you?
No, I did have something until I have to realize, no, my car's paid off. Thank God. I just, kind of threw me for a loop there.
Doesn't mean I won't show up.
Damn it.
Still come get it. All right. Have a good evening, everybody.
As long as you leave another car for me there.
Oh, hey. Wow. Oh, hey everyone, it's Dean from Paranormal Pickers. Oh, I got the preview for the next episode. Oh, yeah. Here, take a peek. Oh.
This one, I'm not sure.
I don't even know where that came from. That came from the depths of your vocal cords. Is that my scare? God, if I ever get murdered, I need to you man. I think you should rethink your career. Really? Those movie
I know.
We've heard a